David is made king when the Israelite tribes cry out for a leader to unite them against a powerful new neighbor, the Philistines. Clues to their identity can be found on these walls in Medinet Habu in Thebes, the Egyptian city of the dead. This mortuary temple of Pharaoh Ramses III gives considerable wall space to his defeat of the Philistines.
In the upper register here, there is one of the earliest depictions of a sea fight in military art. It shows the Egyptian fleet engaging the fleet of the Sea Peoples, whose ships are capsizing and their soldiers who are being thrown into the water. One of the major components in the coalition of the Sea Peoples was a group called the Philistines, who are much better known to us through the biblical Philistines.
Scenes on walls inside the temple depict the Philistine prisoners' ultimate fate. Here, Pharaoh receives their severed hands as gifts. And that's not the only body part.
The Egyptians, in place of what we would call a body count, did a phallus count. They would cut off the phallus of the fallen warrior as an indication of a kill. And these would be brought in and piled before the king and then counted by the scribes. From such depictions you can tell the Philistines were uncircumcised.
Circumcision, according to the Bible, is the sign of God's covenant with the Israelites. The lack of it casts the idol-worshipping Philistines as barbarians. But archaeological evidence from sites in southern coastal Canaan, where the Philistines end up settling, sheds a different light on these new arrivals.
So this is what amazed me always, what happened here.
We were very lucky to have this at the end.
Yes.
So this is
Cy Gittin and Trudy Dotan have spent more than 30 years excavating and analyzing Philistine artifacts.
This is like what we very well know in the Philistine pottery, which again shows kind of very interesting art, people who loved art, who knew how to draw. Philistine culture is a very high culture. If you say to somebody you are a Philistine, it's definitely not a compliment. But I think the more we excavate and the more we find things and the more alive the Philistine cities come, it is far above what we have in the neighboring area at that period.
The beautifully decorated Philistine pottery stands in stark contrast to the simple pottery of the Israelites. The archaeological evidence belies the Bible's portrait of the Philistines as brutes.
In the Bible, the Philistines are defined as the other in a very negative sense in terms of where they settled, in terms of their technological skills, in terms of their cult, religion, and so forth.
The Philistines live in cities and worship other gods as idols, like the Canaanites before them. But the Philistines, in addition to being uncircumcised, bring a new distinction to the table. Here, at the Philistine site of Tel Es-Safi, or biblical Gat, Justin Levtov is collecting samples from what was once a Philistine kitchen.
Bones are the most common finds on most archaeological sites right after pottery, so therefore they're very important. They represent what people ate, the leftovers of people's meals, ancient trash essentially.
At his Hebrew University lab in Jerusalem, Levtov sorts and analyzes the bones and discovers a new item on the menu.
There is a sharp increase in the percentage of pig remains on archaeological sites associated with the Philistines from the moment that they apparently arrived.
but at neighboring Israelite sites, there is virtually no pig.
And this would seem to indicate a very clear difference in the dietary preferences between these two cultures, which might be the very beginning of what we later know as the Jewish Israelite dietary customs, which we are called kashrut laws nowadays.
The biblical writers emphasize these differences between the Israelites and their new neighbor. The pig-eating, idol-worshipping, uncircumcised Philistines supplant the Canaanites as the other.